What's poppin'?
It's just today's beautiful. This is really a dope experience right now that we're all having. I will say that it's definitely a game changer because it's like the career fair, but it's the career fair where everyone can be in tune at the same time, and the
Uh-huh.
interaction of it is just pretty amazing to me. Like technology, I would say that I'm happy that I don't have to stand in line to ask a question, but I'm also happy that I'm able to stand side by side by somebody and
Yeah,
look at their question and then answer my question, and we have like a group discussion. I think
yeah.
that's I think that is just pretty amazing.
Yeah, I definitely think that I really like the way virtual conferences have been kind of going because of like just the situation, right? Like even though we're not standing and I'm not sweating and like reading over trying to hear you in the crowd and something like that, like this is like an intimacy here that's kind of like dope.
It's so dope. I love your pictures on the background. Is that Halo?
No, these are, I guess, my creations, and they're my odes to Urgot. He's my favorite champion. He's my love. He's my everything. And so all of my free work and design is dedicated to showing that off.
So you do, oh, so graphic work. Oh, this is perfect. I'm in the right place. Oh, my
Bro,
heart.
did you not read the title before you
I
clicked
did,
into
but
the
I
channel?
just, I didn't think it would be that. I don't know. I'm just excited and I'm like jumping from chat to chat and I
Uh-huh.
was just asking questions in the other chat. So, but this is where I need to be. Okay, so I have questions about UX design. I have questions about how to get into that character design. I have
Okay.
questions about so much. So I'm a graphic designer.
Okay.
I got my BA. Let me go do my background while I'm the only one here. Uh,
Okay.
I got my BA in studio art and graphic art design, with a minor in graphic design. No, a minor in art history. I have my own brand. It's called 28 Flavors. I basically do it to create and design logos for upcoming businesses.
Okay.
Um, I do character content creation, but I haven't really dabbled into it much because I've been getting more into the UX side. I'm getting my
Hmm.
master's in information technology with a
Okay.
focus in cybersecurity. Um,
Okay.
and now I'm learning how to balance, my love in my business at the same time with the UX, I mean, with the art side of it, and
Hmm.
then the technology side of it, UX. So, what advice would you give when applying to jobs for such a like too broad,
Yeah.
like, you know,
You're definitely T oriented, which is beautiful. But when you're deciding to like not do your own ventures and you're deciding to come underneath like a company umbrella, you
mhm,
definitely want to narrow that in, right? And you want to kind of like stack the odds in your favor. And I was just having this conversation with somebody else. Like he did video, but also wanted to get into like visual design, but he was like his video editing portfolio was super stronger than his actual design portfolio. So I
yeah,
was all like, "Oh girl, why don't you just go in as like apply to a video editor position, get into the company and then like work your way around, right?" And so like for you, you have like a lot of stuff going and even though they are interlaced and that gives you a lot of like surrounding context, right? You need to
right.
choose what is your like, oh yeah, girl, I could do this at like a drop of a dime, right?
Oh,
And so if design is like your strongest suit and your portfolio is crazier on design, then like going and applying to visual design jobs, I would recommend. And then once you come to the table, you're all like once you go through your interview rounds, you can be all like, oh yeah, I also do this and this. I have a UI UX experience and I built my whole entire brand and here's my KPIs. That's like and like you can basically flex on them there and show
man,
how it like interlaces back to the design stuff. So it's kind of like you don't want to like overwhelm them and be all like like here's my whole entire resume, right? But you kind of want to make sure that everything like ties back into the craft that you're applying for so they're happy and like they're like, okay, girl, yeah, you definitely know how to execute on design. You have this like locked up. And the benefits is like he has some extra stuff that he's giving to the plate as
I
well.
need more paper.
I mean,
This is not
I'm
enough.
gonna
I'm
invite
taking notes.
somebody else to this chat. I'm just gonna be inviting, and I should be reading the session stuff. Hello. this is for character design, right, and concept art. I mean, I can answer questions about that, but that is not my trade. If you're talking about portfolios and like leveling that up or like what type of jobs you want to go for, I can definitely like give information around that type of stuff. But if we're talking about what type of characters you should be drawing for a specific company, I cannot help you in that manner. Like, I would tell you to go to like the JD essentially, and then also look at the art style of that company and like attempt to mimic it or like do better, like make it your own essentially. People do like your own style.
Yeah, they did that with the Sailor Moon thing.
Word. So you're the, I mean, the person we invited isn't necessarily talking right now. So if you have any more questions, I'm here to answer.
Yeah, so a little bit about yourself. I would love to hear that.
Oh yeah, sure. So really, my background is not in design, it's in engineering. And I decided, like, after college, when I came back home, I was like, I really want to try to do key art. Like, I really wanted to make the covers of like games. And so I worked very, very hard to try to figure out like how do I get into the gaming industry to design these awesome key arts, right? I quickly realized through a lot of excursion, a lot of like different conversations that your girl does not have an illustrative key like tech set. I don't have that. I can't hand draw really well and I don't know how to like render photoreal. That's not my bandwidth. Like that's not like what was given to me. And so I was like, okay, so I definitely can't necessarily do the illustrations for key art, but I can do like branding and design elements and type treatments and all that other stuff like design work. So I didn't figure that out at the time, but I started interning with random companies that I just reached out to. My moonshot company at the time was Astro Studios slash Astro Gaming because they designed the Xbox. They had like really good designers. I just like loved everything about their portfolio. I was like, I want to get in here.
Like the headset, right? Astro headset?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. So that's so dope. That's so
Yeah,
dope.
their parent studio, Astro Studios, is like a product design company, and so they did like the Xbox. They've done some other stuff like HP and all that other jazz. Just like mwah, chef's kiss to design. So I was like, I really want to go here, and like if I could get into this company, then like, oh, I'm in gaming. I get to do really cool design work. I would feel really good. So I started like low-key stalking them and I saw that they made these like videos
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, these videos are cool. I checked and there was like this VFX firm that was doing their videos and I was all like, oh, I'll reach out to them. And so I just like called them up and hit them with the email and I was all like, hey, are you looking to have interns? And apparently they took that as like a joke and so they met up with me, but I guess I convinced them. And so I ended up working with them. And unfortunately that didn't like go well, not go well, excuse me, that was fine. It was a good moment, but unfortunately, they couldn't convert me to full time. And so I ended up putting my resume out on Craigslist, and I got picked up by this creative agency called Creative Circle, which basically just helps creative people get jobs in like entertainment industry, right? And they looked at my resume. They were all like, "Hey, interesting, we might have opportunities, we see that you like gaming and we're looking to like branch into gaming." And I was all like, okay, cool, yeah, that's definitely what I want to do. Like, how do I do this? So she gave me tips on like retrofitting my Behance page at the time to like be more I was gonna say titillating to people in the gaming industry, right? So I was like, okay, cool. And then she hit me up and she was all like, so we have this company, they make this game League of Legends, and I'm going to be honest, I'm a COD bro. I didn't know anything about like I didn't have a PC,
Mhm.
so I didn't necessarily know. Like I knew about PC gaming, but I was like, oh, that's a type of nerd that I'm not. Like that's deep level stuff. And come to find out, I am a deep level nerd. And I was like, League of Legends, this looks all outdated. The page looks all crazy. I was like, we're in the 2000s. Why does their page like not look updated? This is crazy. And then my coworker at the time was all like, I'm pretty sure that game is big, and I was all like, yeah, I don't know, I haven't heard about it. Um, I went in there, I got the job to work in their esports, and I've been here ever since. So that's kind of like my road to like getting to Riot, essentially.
Gotcha. So now I have a question as far as in like the internship go for man for just video gaming industries. I had it, but it was on the tip of my tongue. Sorry, I got overwhelmed with excitement.
Yeah, no problem. Sean and I want to say, Ayana, do you guys have any questions? While Fabian, I'm guessing, is mulling over his questions.
No, not at the moment.
Cool.
Yeah, this is not Ayana. She's driving, but
Oh,
my name is,
nice.
yeah, sorry, my name is Brian. One of the questions I had was, we have a when how is it that you can narrow your focus when it comes to gaming? So think of somebody who has a wide variety of interests. How is it that you began narrowing your focus so that you could benefit from focus?
How is it that you narrow? I mean, outside of like the common like discipline, right? Um, I think people think narrowing means that you're like taking away or you just can't do, right? And you're not necessarily like taking anything out. Like you being wide helps you like focus on the or like helps like everything else, right? Like it's all interlaced, your experiences. So when one says focus or to prioritize when coming to like getting a job, just what I was saying with Fabian, it's kind of like it just helps you get into that door or it helps people digest all that you are, right? Like um and plus with these jobs, they're looking for something specific. Like even though you can probably do the whole entire world and you have uh you're multifaceted, they're looking for a designer. They're looking for someone to do X, X, and X. And they want to know that that person is going to do X, X, and X. If you do have those abilities to do all that other stuff, that's awesome. And that will help you in, making out those designs. It's going to help you with like attacking that product, but I don't think you necessarily have to get rid of everything that's behind you. It's just helping you like navigate forward. Now, there is beauty in, doing everything, being like a jack of all trades type of situation, right? And being able to pick up something, get a mastery at that, then move on to something new, but just understand what comes along with that, right? Like just understand that sometimes employers are going to want to just have specific and they're not going to want you to be jumping around anywhere else. They're going to want you just to dial in on that. And if you do want to do those other things, then that's going to have to come at your free time. That's going to have to come out with your like side hustles and all that other jazz, or you create the table in order for you to continue to like evolve on all those levels, right?
A follow-up question. Do you feel as if going to college helped you with that, or is this something that you could go get a certificate? Like I have a lot of people and they're like, do I need to go to college? And how, or can I just go get, because you talk about specificity, I often hear people say, well, all I need to do is just go get the specifics. I don't need the 4 year experience. Can you talk to the value of a 4 year experience, just, even with the specificity?
Yeah, sure. And I'm going to like run it back a little bit and say that like my college and what I went to college for was for STEM. It was for engineering specifically. And so like I didn't get into design and gaming until like well after I graduated from college when I shifted careers. So I'm not going to sit here and advocate to people to, run against it and be all like drop out and all that other stuff. Like it truly is different strokes for different folks. But my college experience, because like one, I realized early that I didn't even need an engineering degree, to be truthfully honest, to like make six figures and be Gucci. Like all I needed was like one steel manual and I was able to like, and through like a solid network, I was like able to get a job for the government and just be Gucci working 4 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, so no, I didn't have to stay in college to even get that engineering degree to like live a decent life, right? But the college experience for me was actually quite invaluable because I don't know, I wasn't high school wasn't like a super positive time for me, and in college it was more so those personal connections that I got, right, from my friends and feeling like I was understood. I didn't necessarily feel like I was understood, right, when I was in high school. And so being in college, it really like showed me the wide breadth of like what was out there. The fact that like this is going to sound super ignorant, right, but I'm from California. At the time I didn't know there were other black folk, like other people that look at me. I didn't know nothing about West Indies, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Haitians. I didn't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? Then even like Africans didn't even know about that, right? I thought it was just solid black, you know? So like when I went to school, I saw that. I was well immersed in that. I was the only, what they like to call a regular black person, when I was in college. And like that was crazy invaluable for me actually, because it just like opened my world and expanded it. So you'll hear a lot of people these days, especially people like me, like I'm old, I'm boomer, like I'm over 30. You'll hear us be all like, no, you don't have to go to college if you have the hustle to get to where you want to go, right? Because that's going to be a grind. That's going to be a real stuff. And yeah, you don't need to spend a lot of money or get scholarships to go to a 4-year institution. You can do just well at like going to a junior college for 2 years and then like going to a named institution, or you can just focus and go to like the ITT Techs, to an Otis, to a whatever. I'm pretty sure Otis people are going to be like, why are you putting us on level with ITT Tech? Anywho, but like you can go for a specific thing, right? If that's what your focus is. Like I just want to be an illustrator. So like I'm going to go to a school that's only for illustration, and then I'm going to go to Noman that's known to getting like people into the field, into entertainment, and like that's what I'm going to do, right? And then if you don't necessarily know like what you want to do, but you just want to, like your parents just told you had to go to college, then I think it's fine for you to cash out and like spend the 4 years finding yourself, because that's literally one of the only times outside of this Panera that you're going to get to like be like, oh, what is me? Like, who am I? And what's my identity? And like, let me just try a whole bunch of stuff, like unabashedly with no consequences. So long story short, sorry.
Thank you very much. Hold on, Yana has a question.
Yes.
I'm a parent of 2 children that specifically would like to pursue one esports and then the other game development. But because the industry is so new, I've been hesitant um, with knowing how to really support them, and become participating in this event was part of my educating myself so that I can be supported and know that they can actually make a living in this industry. Can you speak to my concerns a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm not going to sugarcoat, and I'm pretty sure this is not going to be like everyone's favorite. Like this might be a little bit of a hot take. Esports is still the wild, wild west. You know what I'm saying? There is a major gap between S tier organizations like your G2s, your TLs, your TSMs, your 100 Thieves or whatever, right? Like there's a big gap between S tier and then like the rest. So I tell this to like aspiring designers who are like really focused on trying to work for a team, and like how they're trying to get there. I tell them to actually get adjacent experience, to be truthfully honest. And I don't necessarily know where your student is coming from, but I would probably say the same thing, like understanding what they want to do. Like, are you trying to be esports pro? Are you trying to be an influencer? Okay, so if you're trying to be a pro and influencer, then you would probably have to lean on them in order to figure out like where, like let them take the lead on like where they're supposed to go. And you can only be like a supportive person. Like you're going to be their manager essentially, and you're going to scope out like, is this a good deal or not? Is this a good move or not? Are these like viable things or not? Right? And I think that's the biggest thing a parent can do if your student is trying, or if your child is trying to be like a pro or an influencer, right? Because that's all about virility, that's networking, and that's popping. You know what I mean? That's a whole entire different equation of success. If you're looking for more like brand and marketing, operations, design, graphic design, and all that other stuff, that's a career, that's a real stuff, right? Those S tier orgs, they already have that, like they kind of already have that tapestry filled out, and some of them are doing like internship programs, right? If your student is in their like senior or junior year, I would encourage them to go work at like adjacent communities. So your Corsairs, your HyperX's, your Microsoft, your Riots or whatever, right? And get like different entertainment experience, because then you become like a top dollar hire. You can go to like a Coca-Cola who does have like wants to be in esports, right? If you go there as like another, like as an employee at whatever job, you can go to the esports team inside Coca-Cola and be all like, hey, yo, I know a lot about esports, like let me get in on some of this stuff, right? Like you just become invaluable within that network. And then your experience, because you have the name like Coca-Cola on your resume, right? When you come back and you're all like, TL has an open position, you can be all like, and I work at Coca-Cola, and I did all of this, and I launched this. So why are you not hiring me, right? Like it just makes you a stronger candidate internally. So I guess that would be my 2 cents for like parents who are either like parenting a kid who has like celebrity-esque type of oriented or pros aspiration kids, or kids who like actually have a degree or like have a track, a career track, and they just want to be in esports. Hopefully that answered your question. I'm going to look at chat now. Did I miss anybody? Fancy tutorials. I want to make one of those with SNG for
I have
characters.
a question.
Yeah, sure.
The creative circle that you were speaking about earlier, that you found on Craigslist, are they still
Yeah.
active?
Yeah, of course. I think they actually have offices nationally. Like I think it's like not just LA. And those type of agencies are kind of like everywhere and for all disciplines, to be truthfully honest. Like I had a friend who worked with Act One, which was like a temp. It's like a temp for hire type of situation. So just to say that I'm an aspiring designer, which I was at the time. They sent me job recs for a bunch of design stuff. It wasn't just gaming. Like they do all of entertainment, creative circle. So they were sending me just a bunch of stuff. It's ominous, they'll be all like, this company is looking for this and this, right? And you kind of put your portfolio in and resume, and they'll shoot you back being all like, okay, you've made it, and like then you'll go for the interview essentially. So it's a good way to like try to find stable work, because they'll have like full-time contracts, they'll have part-time contracts, but that also just gives you the ability to kind of like get in there. Because I'll be honest, I could have never made it to Riot just based off of my like general abilities. My resume and portfolio was trash. It was a dumpster fire. And I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to make it today. If it wasn't for like those back doors, then you got to go through something if you want to get somewhere, right?
Man, thank you so much for that question.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm sorry, answer. Sorry. Thank you so much for the answer.
I got what you were throwing.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, do you take mentees? Would you be my mentor, please?
I'm into mentorship. It says it on my LinkedIn. You seem like a cool guy. I mean, pretty sure you can hit me up offline, and I'm happy to like continue conversations.
That would be great.
Yeah, why not?
That would be so. Thank you so much. I definitely will connect with you on LinkedIn, and we'll go from there. Is your LinkedIn here in the chat?
How do I do that?
You just
Oh,
copy
I'm pretty sure you could just hit my profile.
profile.
I have all my stuff on there. I think it has like my Twitter, my LinkedIn, and my portfolio site or whatever. Yeah, you should pretty check me out to even see if you want to do with me. I might not be the designer you want. I'm just saying.
But you have the knowledge that I'm seeking, though. So it may not be just the design, but you do have the knowledge I seek as far as in getting into what I want to do. Did I do it twice? I think I did. I did it twice.
Anybody who's in chat, like Chelsea McWillis, feel free to jump into the video, because you see I'm a horrible Twitch moderator.
Do you know where we can find your profile?
Oh, I just commented inside of the chat. So I think if you just click on my view profile, everything should
Oh, here we go.
then become very available to you.
Thank you so much. I'll reach out to you.
For sure. What is the average salary of a graphic designer? It depends on what level you're looking for. They're called pay bands. Gosh, so starting off, I'm the worst at this because I've actually having a sort of story around this. Starting off, I want to say like maybe 60s to above, maybe. I can only like kind of quote right now for senior level, which is like 90 to 110, 20. So you have a good ceiling, and that is also dependent on the state you're in. So I'm only giving this based off the fact that I'm in Los Angeles. I'm going to say that I'm probably no better than just a Google search, to be truthfully honest, which is kind of like bad, but sorry. How long did it take you to get good at graphic design? I'm learning on my own. Girl, I don't even think I'm good at graphic design right now. Let's just say, how long did it take me to get competent? I would have to say like within the last 3 years, to be truthfully honest. Because as you may have already heard, my background was not in this, it was in engineering. So everything that I have been doing, I have been learning on my own. And even though I worked at Riot, I work at Riot, I learned a lot here. So I've kind of like learned the way to design, but by like Riot standards. And we have really good designers here, so I guess they're not like bad standards. So I don't think I became like super efficient, and I'm meaning like efficient and in my bag, meaning like I can see a design, I can like break it down, I can coherently talk about it, and then like I can do it on my own too. Like I'm like, okay, I know how you did that. I'm pretty sure I can like figure out how to do it. That wasn't until like 3 years ago to where I was like, okay, I'm competent at this craft. I know Photoshop, I know Illustrator, I know the tools where I would go if I need to learn something. I know who I can contact in order to figure it out. And like now it just becomes upon me to like start extending, you know what I'm saying? Like start learning new things. So 3D, 2D type of animation, a little bit of illustration and stuff like that, figuring out like where you want to kind of like pivot. But I have been really away from the craft lately because my job these days, I'm not designing that much anymore. I'm more so like creative directing for products, which means that I just sit and I make decks and I try to find really cool, talented people to do really cool shit. That's basically it. Oh yeah, like I have really I have really been seeing a lot of like younger people do awesome shit. Like 3D, and I'm talking about you are in like the 7th, 8th grade type of stuff, which means that like you're all the more valuable, and that also means that the field is like even more tougher to, stand out. And I think when it comes to like companies, if you're trying to like work at, the riots, but even like other stuff like advertising agencies or just trying to be a designer somewhere, right? That means like your skill, like design has always been a very competitive field. And that means your skills are even more important. Those foundations are even more important. Your ability to speak to your designs and why you did what you did is way important, right? Because if you're able to communicate effectively, then employers are all like, okay, they're like autonomous, they know what they're doing, and like you can find, like I can find anybody who can like whip me up some really cool 3D type, but is it clear? Is it readable? Is this layout actually working? Like, what is this composition doing? Did the right effect get put on top of it? Like, what were you trying to, show me? What are you selling me at the end of the day, right? Because design isn't necessarily art, it's about like communication. So, those are kind of like the bigger things, and that's where you edge out in those manners. So even though you like do really cool shit, make sure you have the foundations that are attached to it. I'm currently in class for Photoshop right now in high school. Love it. I'm thinking of being competent in graphic design and digital comic creation. Apply for internships to learn more. I'm a recent grad though, so it's hard to find the right one. Interesting. Digital comic creation. So it means you have like an illustration skill set as well. I want to be an animator, so what should I focus on to help expand my portfolio? These are such broad questions, you guys. Help expand my portfolio. I guess my first question would be like, what is the studio you want to work for? Like, what do you want to animate? Is this like cartoon animation? I'm assuming it's gaming animation. So like, what is like your favorite animation? If you had like I was gonna say a bad metaphor. I was gonna say gun to the head. Like, but if you had to choose, where would you want to go? Who do you want to work for? Uh, and if that's the case, I would tell you to look for the JD on that job. And that tells you exactly what you need in order to even be considered to hire for that job. Once you do that, make sure you have those foundations made, and then make sure you have like the other cool stuff. Now, I say that kind of ominously because I don't necessarily know what's really cool in animation, but specific styles, flat 2D, 3D, whatever your specialty is, make sure that's really clear. And then I think the cherry on top is a very nice narrative around that, right? Like if you you have a portfolio site, and that portfolio site has very lovely integration of navigate, like animation inside the navigation, beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like you're further selling that experience, right? Um, that's like my that's like the only thing I can offer at this moment in time without like getting really gritty into the details of like where you want to go with that. Symbian Picasso good for ambient animation? No clue. Sorry, Joshua Z. I'm still struggling to decide what path I want to go in gaming industry. LOL. Well, if you hop in the video chat, we can talk about it. Or if you write out what your interests are, we can dig in deeper. Yeah, to originally I always drew by hand, but I want to learn digital illustration. Well, that's fairly easy. That should be like I don't want to say easy, but that should be not too hard to cross over. And especially with like iPads and stuff like that, you hear everyone talking about their drawing on their iPad with that one app. That's like the name is escaping me at this time. Obtainable. Oh, I thought I added somebody in here, but did I not? My sorry. I think it was like dirty glasses. Question. Okay, Picasso. Oof. What tablet is good for animation? Josh Z, I don't know. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. It is Procreate. But I mean, like, iPad seems to be like the number one tablet. Like, why even go to anybody else? Although, if you're talking about tablet like a Wacom or something like that, or a Cintiq or something like that. I don't even think you need those things in order to like do animation. Get yourself a nice little potato PC, spend the money on the software, free and an industry software, which they have the student licenses for. Get yourself some tutorials and get to work. I use an XP Artist 12 for my digital designs. And make the best use of it. For now, I'm using Clip Studio Paint on PC. Respect it. I would never encourage anybody to spend crazy money when it's like illustration and graphic design. I think you can do just fine with not having the splashy stuff. And if you can make beautiful things in the free software that's available, or if you want some like crack Adobe stuff, I think I have like a copy of the CS6 sitting around somewhere with some like codes. It still works. And also Figma, I think there's student licenses in that. For UX, UI, and regular design, Figma, oh my gosh, if I hear this word again, if I hear about the software again, it is like my nightscape, like my nightmarescape, but like it is the way that a lot of the industry is turning well, where it's like very clear, effective communication. Anybody could get in there and like use it, right? But a lot of designers have been using that in their tool set. So if you want like new industry wave, Figma is the new wave. Any other questions? Anything else you would like to know? Oh, they did give me some questions that I should answer. Like, what is a general workday? I wrote that this was a little ambiguous, but usually I roll out of this bed into this chair. I sit in about to like a 3 to 6 hour block of meetings. Inside of these meetings, it's like product syncs. So at Riot, we have we now have an S in our games, right? And so I happen to work on a bunch of teams, and those teams need like syncs reviews, and sometimes we have vendors that we're working with. So I have to meet with those vendors, review their stuff as well. So that's what I usually do for the first half of my day or first portion of my day is usually getting alignment, checking on stuff, just making sure that like all of the ships are flowing to the correct port. After that, sometimes I like to enjoy happy hour with my team, like the team that I actually sit on, which is very fun. We kiki, we gossip, we talk about all the hottest stuff that's happening, in games and just in our lives. It's a very fun time. That's really cool. I'm happy that we were able to keep our like social dynamic, even though we're not in the pit together, to where we would just like gossip just all the time, and not gossip like internally and stuff like that. It's like literally just like talking about like what's happening in esports, the hottest stuff that's happening in LCS or like other communities and stuff like that. I find that to be very fun. Or G4. That's really been a big topic and a big like design thing that we talked about. And then after that's all done, I usually go into like some one-on-ones into my evening with my boss. And then after that, I eat. And then after that, I start my work, my design execution work. And I'll usually like design until like 10 or midnight. And then after that, I get onto some ARAM Earth and I play until like 3 to 5 a.m. And then after that, I go to sleep. And then I wake up at 9 to start my day again. So that's usually what a day in my life looks like at this moment in time. Looking at the chat, and of course, how many different art paths are there in the gaming industry? Oh, geez, criminy. How many art paths? So there's art, which is illustration, rendering. Then there can be like creative services that are in there as well. So like you're not necessarily like an artist, or you could be a former artist, but you like manage pipeline and disciplines or other artists themselves. Then there's design, so UI UX design. Basically our game client, right? Websites and stuff like that. More foundational knowledge. Then there's like graphic design, and like graphic design you'll see probably more so in marketing. That's where I sit. We're known as like a publishing unit. So all the stuff that you see that's like inside of the client, like ads, UA stuff, anything that goes onto social media, and then you kind of have like motion, right? Like when you get into the cinematic, so you get like video editing, that can all fall into creative. So animation is also in there somewhere. And then there's like tech art too. There's a lot of like subsets inside of this art umbrella. It's actually pretty vast. What do you do in illustration? Do you just make the artwork for game covers and such? Well, not necessarily. So specifically for Rito, because we're a digital and kind of like a live services game, like always on. There's not necessarily a box art, but you could be one of those artists who make our splashes. So for our champions, you can make kind of like our season start key art, which will be a simulation of a bunch of like our champions together in some really sick poses. You potentially could be tagged. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with KDA. I like to call them KDA, but they have covers in L. If you're a really sick artist, you potentially could design a cover for L magazine. You know what I mean? They also did Days China. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like boxed key art because we don't have like boxed games, but you get to do other digital properties that we like advertise on or like we showcase on. Is networking and finding work really hard if you're freelance? The K-pop girls. Yes. For your other question, is it hard if you're freelance? I think freelance is just always difficult. I mean, I don't want to say always difficult. It's all about your network, and networking means that you have to be sociable. You got to be up in these communities and you have to be like grinding. It can start as easy from your family and friends, right? And doing work for them. And then having your friends advocate for you and like having that kind of like fold on top of each other. It could start from like if you don't have family and friends, then it can start from like the followers that you have on Twitter telling them that you're available and stuff, and then like having that populate from there. Um, I have not been freelance. I was thinking about potentially going into freelance a little bit, potentially like trying to nail down a client like one every quarter. And all of my freelance opportunities have actually stemmed from one friend because she's like a boss. Can I say boss bitch? And she is just fairly well connected, and she has for some reason taken a liking to me. So she has like opened up some of those doors for clients that I potentially, well, I have been trying to like nail down and have had sat at the table with recently. So you don't come up with designs for characters, just the UI design and cover arts. Yeah, no, we don't. That's a whole entire different team. That's like a game designer team. Even the splash artists, like the people who like paint in the splash, may not always be involved with that. Like people who actually come up with like the way the game operates, the champions that come into the games, actually don't necessarily have art background for that. Just UI design and cover arts. Yeah, but I mean, that's pretty wide to be truthfully honest. Are you involved with Runeterra? I like that game. I am not involved with lore. I do have friends who are on that. Um, I'm more on Valorant and League PC right now. Oh, okay, I guess it's over. Bye all. Or do they do more than just concept art? I'm trying to figure out what path I want to take. No, I'm sorry. Concept art is also a part of like the art discipline. Um, but you said two things that have the same two exact words said a little differently. So I guess I would want a little bit more context into like what type of concept art you're looking to do, because concept art ranges from just like initial ideations of what champions could look like to, and I'm only saying this within the context of Riot. So those initial ideations to like literally what does Runeterra look like? What is the Freljord? Who are the casting characters of the Freljord? You know what I'm saying? Like getting super deep into that artwork that may never be seen, but is so sick and so awesome. So I think a little bit more like context as to like what aspect on the realm you're trying to look at could kind of help me with, further assisting if I can. Why this was a great thank you for your answers. Yeah, no problem. Do you have any social media that I could possibly follow you on? Yeah, I think it's in my like profile. If you just click my head, I'm Octopian on Twitter. I don't necessarily like post anything cool. It's just my random musings about Drag Race, playing League of Legends, maybe Valorant, and then maybe shadily commenting to my other coworkers. I like to have fun like that. I would like to do more character concept, but also concept for assets, maybe settings. Okay, then I think just seeing like if you were to go to Riot and you were to see like concept art for a job, then I think you should just apply to that. And then I think it might be like just whatever game you want to work on, if you wanted to be a little bit more specific in that territory. Also, a lot of our artists are on ArtStation too. So you can kind of see like what the playing field is looking like at that level too. Yeah, for sure. I'll stick around until there's nobody here. How different is concept art from tech art? It's literally the replacement of those two names. Tech art is like Ooh, I feel like I could butcher this job description, but I feel like it's the implementation of like the VFX, like VFX, particle effects and stuff like that. Like it's taking what an artist has done in like a 2D situation, making it 3D and making it work inside of the game engine. I think that's what tech art goes into. Can you tell us about the Riot fighting game in development? You trying to get me fired? No. Oh, also, I don't work on that either, so I have absolutely no idea. I could. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and I want to try to like. I'm low key trying to like hustle to get on that team, like so, because that's gonna be like culture defining. That's gonna be some awesome. Woo! And I want to see some cool partnerships for that too. Oh my gosh, just imagine. Oof. Yeah, I really want to try to work for Lion one day. All right, when there's 0 eyes on that thing, I'll leave. Like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, I can go down those questions that I was supposed to have prepared here. Do you have any places like website or videos you could recommend where we could look more into the more specific parts of the art field in game development? I do not have any, or I do not off top know about any educational resources. I guess I could shamelessly plug like Riot Games Careers on YouTube, I think, or just like Riot Games has like, I think they did like an artist series actually, um, where a bunch of the internal artists talk about their jobs and such. So maybe that could be helpful and better than me trying to piece this all together. And potentially other company career sites could, like if you search them on YouTube, potentially could do it. I'm pretty sure Blizzard has a series like that as well too. So yeah, I think if you just like hit up a company you want to work for, think of that name and just search them on YouTube, you might find their careers page. And they usually do a lot of like educational resources to help people try to get in or to like level set what jobs and descriptions are in like their company. Did you have any help with Agent 15 for Valorant? I'm very excited for the next season. I've also just followed you on Twitter and thank you for this informative meeting. No problem. Thank you. And no, I did not. Let me clarify. I work on Valorant publishing for North America in OCE. So I do not work for the game itself, meaning like I'm not creating agents, I'm not creating the map, but I'm doing all of the marketing efforts for like the North America region. So say for like Yoru, how Japan did like that video and like the cosplay initiative and the artists and stuff like that's kind of like in my regional bailiwick. I also deal with Valorant esports, so the North American branch for that. So our videos, our social accounts, like all that other stuff, like I'm the creative lead for those and I like develop what our videos are supposed to look like, what we're supposed to be saying, who are we partnering with, and all that other jazz. So unfortunately, I don't have any say on what happens to the game. My whole entire job is to make sure that this game comes off authentic to you guys. Like that is solely what my job is. Yeah, it's fun. I think like Valorant's like really cool. So it's fun to like work on. League is cool too. I mean, come on, K-Dot, they're awesome. Spent my whole entire year last year listening to K-pop. I listened to no other genre except for K-pop, and I listened to like pop stars and giants incessantly. To the fact that Spotify in my year-end recap told me I listened to it incessantly. It was a little sad, to be truthfully honest. All right, I don't see that number ticking down, so I will still be here. I'll continue to answer those questions they told me I should answer beforehand. Let's see here. Oh, courses prepared me for what I'm doing. Again, there were no courses that prepared me for anything that I'm currently doing right now. I have been learning it all on the job. But I did take some like communications design courses when I was in college, which kind of like helped me level set or understand like what Photoshop was, what Illustrator was, those introductory courses and stuff. But low key, after my teachers told me that I was never going to make it as a designer and that I should give up, I stopped participating in those courses. You know what I'm saying? Like, my whole entire motive became just vengeance at the end of the day. So I'm self-taught on everything else and everything I've learned on in like at the job essentially. Were there any organizations relevant to my craft? I'm pretty sure I could have joined AIGA, but I didn't, and I still haven't. Um, I just don't like. I feel like there's this interestingness when you talk to like designers who design, who are like typists and all that other stuff. And I've always felt that I don't think I like belong in that area. And it's like I always feel that I have to I don't know, like justify my existence, you know what I'm saying? So like I've kind of like stayed away from those traditional design circles because they didn't necessarily feel like I would fit in, and I always felt like subpar. The organizations that I did join were like NESB, the SHEPs and all that other stuff, where it was like black people who are engineers and stuff like that. I always felt at home, and it was always fun to party. BSAs and all that other jazz too. So that was cool. Is it possible to do something like both animation and concept art? I always say it's always impossible. I mean, it's always possible to do something. I was going to sing Impossible for that from, the Brandy Whitney Houston Cinderella movie. So that's why I said impossible at first. It is, but like I told the other dude, Fabian, who has he can do a lot of stuff. I think you should like put your stack your cards to what you do really, really well to try to get into the door. And then of course, once you're inside, you can like not only deliver on that, but you can bring to the table, your other abilities. You know what I'm saying? And even potentially switch disciplines. So that's usually the advice I give for people who are multifaceted. I mean, I work in design, like I started off as a visual designer, and it looks like I might be taking like a whole entire different change in my career right now to where I won't be doing design at all. It's just more like creative takes. But within design, I really like merch. And so I started getting really heavily into like apparel design, jersey design, and stuff like that, and was like looking to try to work for our like merch team, our internal merch team. So it's possible. I don't have any other musings. I read all of the I gave all the answers to the questions they told me to prepare beforehand. Is it possible to something like both sprite animation for YouTube and something in the esports community? Hmm, I'm not sure where you're going with this statement. To like both sprite animation for YouTube and something in the esports community? Rephrase that for me, because I think both are possible. This is my last question. Are there good paying careers for concept art? I'm thinking about going into a concept art career, but I would like to know if it's well paying career. Depends on what you define well paying. You know what I'm saying? All of us have different aspects of living. So tell me what you're trying to do. Something I can live by. Where do you live? is it possible to do something like both sprite animation for YouTube and something in the esports community? Oh, okay. So I like my first initial impression to that, I'm going to say Gabriel, is yes. And then I'm going to say, but it depends on like, well, if you work for an esports company, you definitely can be all like, hey, sprite animation is the wave. Let's do this, this, and this in sprite animation. You know what I'm saying? And then there you go. You have built that together. If you are looking to get into an esports org, but just with like like with a sprite background, you may want to show a little bit more diversity in like what you animate, and then get in and then sell them and be all like, sprite is the wave. Or you can become really, really great at sprite animation and like your stuff goes viral, yada, yada, yada. And hopefully those esports marketing people are like looking for the hottest shit and they can be all like, oh my gosh, this dude is great. Sprite is the wave. Let's hire him. I just need enough to pay rent, bills, but also do something I love. Yeah, you could definitely do that. I believe that is possible, period. Yes. I think you can even ball out. Artistry is subjective. If you just wanted to be a studio artist, I think you can have a very, very lovely living as just a studio concept artist. Yeah, no problem, Gabriel. Hopefully that works. Esports is a tricky little thing. Now we have even more people in this channel. Oh, I think this is when they start where they pull you off the stage and they dim the lights and they cut off your mic. I think that's what's happening right now. I wonder if I should just go. Would that encourage leaving? Okay, I guess I might just go because no one's telling me any different, and hopefully that is not offensive to any of you. All right, it's been fun. Bye, y'all. Hopefully I see you around. Oh, snap.
Rel, I just wanted to come on and say thank you so much. I've read about you, I've heard about you. So for you to make time out of your amazing day, and you're such one of my people on my team is a huge Riot Games fan, and she was telling about all the great things you're doing with Fortnite and Valorant and League of Legends. So thank you. We not Fortnite, League of Legends and Valorant, and so I so thank you and appreciate you. And the fact that you look like us is aspirational. And encouraging. So you'll be getting a message. We'd love to have you come back for Women Got Game.
Oh yeah,
if you have time. It's
I love the
exact
uterus.
same platform for women of color.
Yeah.
So would love to see you again. I hope everyone had a chance to get to amazing. This lady right here is the best to ever do it, and she is the reason why I want more people to follow her footsteps. So when we play the games, the most popular games, we see people that look like us. And so thank you for your creative energy and the blessing that you are and what you're doing in the gaming industry. We so appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I love your swagger and your steez. This is awesome. GG.
Thank you. I can't wait to meet you in person this time next year for Black College Con.
Hey, let's go. You put it out there.
Yeah, it's done.
Let's go.
Guys, and thank you all so much. And I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thanks again for today.
Same to you. Thank you. Bye.